So I've got two issues with the new truck that I'm trying to solve. To show you what they are, I'm going to go into my app. I have a OBD2 app on my phone, and it links up to the OBD2 sensor in the truck whenever I plug the module in. So I'm going to get that set up and I'll show you what it's saying. Okay, so this is a report that I ran 4 or 5 days ago on the engine, or on the truck. I did a whole system scan on it, and I did a check engine scan on it, and the check engine scan came up with these couple of issues: the mass airflow sensor circuit low frequency, the EGR valve pintle position circuit, and then mass airflow sensor and EGR and camshaft positioning sensor. So the camshaft positioning sensor, I just bought a new one. I'm going to replace that. The EGR pintle position circuit, I'm going to take the EGR valve out of the truck and clean it out with some carbon throttle body cleaner and put it back in and see if that code goes away. If not, I might have to buy a new EGR valve. A lot of people show bypassing it by doing things like cutting up like a tin can of some sort, and then making basically a blocking plate to put on in between the EGR valve sensor. This is my 5.7 liter Vortec engine, and this is your EGR valve, or EGR electronic sensor valve system. So basically you need to take, there's a 10 millimeter right there, and then it's kind of hard to see, but there's another 10 millimeter right up there that needs to come out also. So you'll have to excuse the noise in the background, but my neighbors are vacuuming their vehicle. So real quick, I'm going to go through. You just get this EGR plug out of here. Try not to break it, which I'm going to do if I only use one hand. Okay, so I got the plug out. All right, so that took me a hot minute. That bolt down there was in there pretty tight, and I almost stripped it out. I ended up having to get the smaller, thinner sockets out, and then putting a breaker bar on the end of the ratchet to get it to come out of there. The other one was a lot easier. That one came out pretty easy. That one I was able to use the 3/8 inch ratchet with some extensions on it and get it out of there pretty easy. Now I'm going to pull this out of here. There should be a gasket underneath of this EGR, in between that and the top of the engine. So let's see if I can snake this out of here with one hand and not lose those bolts. Actually, I'm going to grab my magnet and get those bolts. Alright, so I've got my magnet here, so let's get in here, get these bolts out of here. There's one. Let's get this other one out of here. Alright, there's the other one. Let's snake this out of here, hopefully. Might have to unplug this. I think that's the water temp sensor. Yes, there is a gasket on there, and man, that looks bad. There's a gasket on it. It's kind of stuck to it. So this piece right here is supposed to go in and out, and it doesn't do anything. It is definitely froze up and needs to be fixed. I'm going to try to use like a paint scraper or putty knife and get that gasket off of there, and then try to clean this so that EGR valve actually functions correctly. It is pretty gummed up in there. So I managed to get most of the gasket off. It's still quite a bit stuck on there. So I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes with the drill and my knife scraping and cleaning to get all of that stuck on material off of there before I can even work on freeing up this pintle pin. So it's probably 10-15 minutes later. It didn't take as long as I thought it was going to, and I basically have all the gasket material off. The surface is very pitted around, especially around the edges where moisture and stuff could get to it, but I think I got all the gasket material off, or at least enough of it where it shouldn't make a difference whenever I do put the gasket on. Looks pretty flat. I'm going to see if I have some sandpaper, and if I do, I'm going to get a really flat surface and put the sandpaper on it, and then run the top of this over. I'll set this down on the sandpaper like this and run it back and forth and see if I can't clean that surface up a little bit. Alright, so I got that surface pretty clean. I haven't worked on fixing this yet, but I'm going to go in here before I forget and try to clean that mating surface off, because it's pretty bad too. I'm just going to hit it with the wire wheel and see if I can get it to clean up pretty good and then blow it off with the air compressor. Let's try this again. So this is where I'm at with it right now. Unfortunately, my wire brush that I have here, this one, and my drill did not have enough length to get down in there so I could use the drill to clean it. But what did work is I had a flathead screwdriver, and that gasket was so crusty and hard on there that I basically took my hammer here and lightly tapped on the back of the screwdriver on all the spots where the gasket was stuck on there, and it would like flake and shoot off. But I just lightly tapped on it. I didn't want to put a bunch of dings and dents in this part of the was it the intake manifold area? I'm pretty sure this goes to the intake manifold area. Like I said, I'm not super familiar with this truck yet, but I'm getting there. And but anyway, I just basically tapped on those little chunks and they would just launch off of it. And then once I got it down to where it was mostly all gone, then I just used the brush in my hand and I got down in there and I just kind of scraped it all off. And there was a bunch of stuff that was in that tube right there, like leftover material and stuff in the tube, and I just sucked it out with the vacuum cleaner. And I'm going to hook up the compressor in a second, plug it up, and blow off this whole area right here. Then I'm going to have to go and purchase a new EGR gasket, because this one, while it did come off technically in one kind of piece, it's just in really bad shape. You know, when I started trying to fix the EGR, I actually started it first because I thought it was going to take less time to do than the camshaft positioning sensor, which is what I'm going to fix next. I was wrong. This gasket material being stuck to everything, and now having to go and buy a new gasket because the material was stuck to everything, is definitely making things take a lot longer. So I'm going to pack everything up and lock the truck up and everything and close the garage door and run to probably Advanced Auto Parts. I think I've heard that that's the cheapest place to get them, but I'm going to look up the prices real quick. Between the places I have here in town to check are O'Reilly's, AutoZone, I think there's a Napa somewhere, and Advanced Auto Parts. So I got those three places. I'll check their websites real quick, see who's got what's actually available locally to go and pick up, and I'll pick the cheapest one. So I'm back with the new EGR gasket. There's a part number on here somewhere, I'm sure. Here we go. Part number EVA1003. I got it at Advanced Auto Parts. through my research, it looked like everybody else in town had it for about $4.99, upwards of $7 or $8 a piece. Advanced Auto Parts had this gasket for $2.50. There's the old one. There's the new one. So in addition to that, I ended up having to get some carb cleaner because I thought I had some and I did not. So I got some CRC carburetor cleaner to take care of cleaning the EGR valve. So like I said, this is supposed to move in and out, and it doesn't move at all. Oh wait, I got it to push down just a little bit, but it should move easily. So I'm gonna fill this reservoir here up with cleaner and then use a screwdriver and press this up and down a bunch of times to try to lubricate the inside of it and get that moving freely again, because it does not move, and it should go in and out pretty easily. Alright, so I got a screwdriver with a T20 Torx bit in it that fits in there nice. I took my my pick and I cleaned all of the carbon buildup out of the center of the screw so that I could get in there real good with it. And as you can see, it pushes down and then it doesn't come back up. So I got the carb cleaner and I'm just going to spray it on here. Look at all of that nastiness coming out. Alright, I'm going to fill that up and try to work this in and out. Probably shouldn't have pushed that down before I had the cleaner in there. Alright, I'm going to have to figure out how to pull that back up, because I need to be able to move it up and down, and it was my bad for pushing it all the way down before the cleaner was in. There we go, it's starting to move now. It's coming in and out just a little bit more each time. The cleaner in there is breaking up the deposits. Yep. Alright, there we go. Now it's moving freely. So don't push it down before you get the cleaner in there. So I'm going to go ahead and work this around a little bit more. And then take this out of the vise. Dump it out, and let's see what kind of nastiness comes out of it here. Oh, can't really see it, but it is way cleaner in there than it was. I just have this barely pressed in the vise, just enough to hold it up so it doesn't tip over. Seems pretty good, as long as the valve itself isn't actually broken, like the electronic portion of it. Then I should be able to let this dry, put it back together, and hopefully get rid of the EGR code that's in the engine right now on the OBD2 port, the DTC. So I'm going to hit that with the air compressor, blow it all out, and then get everything put back together. Okay, so I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I got everything all set up here. Got the gasket and the EGR valve and the bolts. Okay, so I got the tools. I got my my quarter-inch drive, yeah, and my 3/8 inch drive with a 10mm on both sides. Go ahead and get this gasket installed. Oops, I dropped it down the front of the truck. Alright, let's not do that again. I dropped it right down where the hood latch is, right in the front of the truck, and had to get down there and find it. So again, this is the new one, and this is the old one. Yeah, it definitely needed replaced. Apparently my gimbal died. Well, you get the gist. I don't really have a way to hold you up here now. So I'm going to get the new gasket, EGR valve put back on here, and get everything all connected back up. We'll clear the codes and see if that fixes the EGR problem or not. Alright, so everything is back in. The water temp sensor is back in, the EGR plug is put back in, everything is tightened down. I'm going to go ahead and replace the camshaft positioning sensor before I start the truck up and make the engine hot, because it'd be much easier to do and much more friendly on my hands and arms if the truck engine is not hot while I'm replacing all this stuff. So I'm going to get that taken care of, and then we'll start the truck up, clear the codes, and see if anything returns or if it's fixed. So as I showed you earlier in the video, the OBD2 reader is saying that the camshaft positioning sensor is bad or needs to be replaced or checked or something, so I went and got one. This one I got at AutoZone. It was $31.99, I think. It's part DR188, and this is what it looks like. And in the box comes new screws if you would like to use new screws to put it in. So I'm going to get this off here. Basically, you take off the Vortec box right there, and in behind there is your distributor cap. You remove 2 screws from the distributor cap to get it off, and you can just kind of set it off to the side. You don't even have to unplug any of the plug wires. And then your rotor cap is underneath of that with the rotor button on top. There's 2 screws in that you have to take off. And then once you get that off, I will show you the rest. There's a slot that you have to have lined up to get the new camshaft, or get the old camshaft positioning sensor out, and then also put the new one in. So I'll show you that whenever I get to that point. When you're working on something and you're putting it back together, don't be like whatever person put this on here. Look at that hose clamp. It is, first of all, backwards, so the part that you would access to spin it to unhook it is the opposite direction. It's facing the other way, and then it's also, it's all the way down at the bottom. If I just wanted to take that Vortec box off, how the heck would I do that? Now I'm gonna have to take not just the Vortec box off, but the upper portion of the throttle body where the air box leads into off as well, just to get that out of there. Don't be like that guy. Do it the right way. Move that hose clamp around so you can access that freaking either screw or bolt head, and make it to where next time this job needs to be done, it can be done easily. That's what I'll be doing once I get to putting everything back together. Look, I got the Vortec box off. This is even keyed. You see this little tab right here on this piece of rubber? It's supposed to go right here in this slot, and then that, and I think it's actually this hose clamp is actually on backwards. Like, I think it needs to be flipped around. But even if you just flip this over here where it belongs, that should make it to where you can at least get to this side to loosen that hose clamp. So I'll get that fixed. other noteworthy things is while you're in here, it's a good idea to take a look down the yap here and check out your throttle body. And you know, there's a little bit of carbon buildup in there, just a little bit, but overall it looks pretty good in there. I'm not going to complain about that. Passages all look pretty open. Nothing's real plugged up or bad looking. And then back here, so right there is one of the Torx T20 bolts you have to get off. And then the other one is right there, all the way in the back of the engine. So I'm going to get those off there and get that distributor cap off. Alright, so I got those two screws out. Right there's one, and right there's the other one out. The back one, I ended up having to get my 1/4 inch ratchet, put a 1/4 inch socket on it, get my little shorty adapter here, and put the T20 in it because all my screwdrivers were too tall, and I kept hitting the firewall with the screwdriver back, and I couldn't get it to go in or out. So there's the two screws to get the distributor off. So I'm going to mark all of those plugs and get that distributor cap out of there. Alright, so I've marked the plug wires. I need to fix one of them. Oh man. So this one is supposed to be a 2. Alright, so it doesn't have to be anything fancy, you just have to make sure you know where they go. So I marked them from bottom to top, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then same thing over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That way you know where they go. And that way when you put them back, you can put them back in the right order. And of course the one without the mark is the one from the coil. So that one will go all the way up there to the very, very top. Alright, so after climbing up there multiple times, trying to get this rotor, the distributor cap off, I'm really glad that I did take it off, because look at those contacts. They are corroded badly. The rotor button in the middle looks okay, like the contact point in the middle that goes to the coil, the ignition coil. That feeds out through this and then distributes to all the spark plugs. But look at how much corrosion there is on all of these. I really don't know how this thing was running with all that corrosion on there. So I'm going to take a wire brush and get that all cleaned up before I put it back together. Alright, so I scraped all of the terminals with the wire brush. All that white crusty stuff you see down inside there, that's all from the terminals. I'm going to spray everything down with brake clean and dump it all out, and I might take some sandpaper to the terminals as well and try to clean them up just a little bit more. The wire brush got most of it off, but I think it just needs a little bit more fine-tuning. That looks much better. If it was working before, it should definitely stay working for a while now. Alright, now on to the repair I was actually trying to do, getting the rotor cap off. Okay, I got the rotor button and cap off, the rotor button assembly, whatever. There were two screws in these two holes right here, and I took them out, and I was wrong. They're actually T15s for the top of the button housing. So now you can see there is there's the throttle positioning sensor. There's the slot that I have to get lined up with the sensor over there. So I'm going to turn the engine over a couple times, like tap the key a little bit here and there, see if I can get it to move over there. It's pretty close right now, so it probably shouldn't take very long. Alright, that's pretty close to where it needs to be. I think I can probably snake it out through that hole. I had to go 3 full rotations around to get it to where it was. It probably took me 5 to 7 minutes to finally get to that point. But like I said, I think I can snake it out through that hole with it being right there. Alright, so I got it out. Obviously, old one, new one. They look to be pretty much exactly the same. I was not able to snake that out of... I got the fan on, sorry. I was not able to snake that out of there. I ended up having to hit the key one more little time, and I got it over almost directly above it, and I was able to get it out after that. So now, just have to go through the reverse order of everything. Put the new one in, put the screws in, and on this vehicle, the screws were in these two back holes back here. So I'll put it back in those two back holes, and those were T20s like I thought, and they did have red Loctite on them, it looks like. So I will probably end up using the blue screws, maybe. Is the thread pitch the same? No, look, the thread pitch on these screws is much more aggressive. It's a coarser thread pitch than what these screws are. Those are a much finer thread pitch. So I guess I'm going to be reusing the old ones. At least I know they work, and they're not going to mess anything up. But that's something you got to pay attention to. I'm going to take one of these out of here. Okay, so the blue is the new ones. Come on. And the red is the old ones. You look how many more threads per the TPI, the threads per inch, the red one has than the blue one. So the blue one would probably end up going in, but it might strip something out or tear up the internals. So pay attention to the screws whenever you go to put it in. I'm going to reuse the old ones. Alright, so the new camshaft positioning sensor is installed, screwed down, and looks like it's ready to go. I'll get the rotor cap on there. Alright, so the rotor button is reinstalled. I made sure whenever I took it off to pay attention to which side this was facing. It'll only go in one of two ways. It'll go in this direction, or it'll go in 180 degrees the other direction, which you don't want it to go in that direction because that's not right. And when I first started, I noticed that my slot that I was looking for was on the opposite side of the button filament there. And since it's still over there on the other side, I knew that this went opposite of it, and so I got it in the correct orientation. Alright, that's it. I got the distributor cap put back on, and all of the plug wires, including the wire for the coil pack, because that one coil pack feeds the distributor. I got them all put back on. I checked all my little my 1, 2, 3, and 4 marks, and they're all in the right positions on both sides. So that's it. I just need to put the airbox stuff back on, and of course I'm going to fix the stupid band on that box so that it's oriented the right direction before I put it on. I might clean this box off too before I put it on, just because, why not? Well, what do you know? When you put it on correctly and you line up the rubber with the little opening, the top of the clamp is accessible to remove from the top of the motor. Imagine that. It's almost like GM knew what they were doing. Alright, there it is. Everything's all tightened up. The wing nut is tightened down. That hose clamp is tight. This one has been reoriented to match the little notch there and tightened. This hose clamp wasn't in the correct position either. I reoriented it and put it back on tighter, and I did notice that it was starting to separate right here, and so I fixed that. I checked that clamp. It was tight. PCV, I think it's the PCV valve is reinstalled and everything is all situated. The truck has been cleaned up of any extra parts, trash, or tools. And so now we are going to go and get in the truck, and I'm going to first clear the codes completely, just wipe everything out and start it up and see what we got. Alright, so here we are in the scan tool, and as you see up in the top left hand corner, it says scan tool paired, and I've got the truck turned to the on position, but it did not start it. So let's read the codes right now. Let's do a whole system scan. It's not happy with something. Alright, so 5 codes found. Powertrain. So mass airflow sensor, camshaft sensor, EGR valve pintle position, camshaft EGR valve pintle position. So these are all of the codes. Let's erase all of the codes. Oops. Codes erased. Let's do another scan real quick. Alright, so we have no engine codes found. So I started the truck up and immediately the service engine soon light came on right after I started it. So I'm going to turn it back off again, get back into the ODB2 reader and see what codes have popped up. Alright, I'm back in the scan tool now, and I've got it scanning the system again. I did a whole system scan again to try to see what pops up. I don't know why it keeps taking so long to do scanning tire pressure sensors. I'm pretty sure there aren't any sensors in this truck. Four codes found still. Alright, well, the EGR pintle position is still in there, and the camshaft position sensor circuit is still, says low frequency. So all that work and nothing actually got fixed. Maybe if I erase the codes from here. Okay, it says nothing, so let's try starting the truck back up again. Alright, so I'm going to record starting it up this time. So there's no check engine light on right now. See, came on right away. Took a little bit longer to start up that time than the first time too. Maybe it's got a relearn process that it needs to go through. So I don't know what the deal is. I'm going to take it for a test drive, see if I can feel any kind of a difference that either of those two things have made. Maybe that mass airflow sensor just needs to be replaced, and that's the big deal. It is idling right now about 200 RPM higher than it was yesterday, It was hovering right at about 600. I did just start it, so maybe it just hasn't settled down yet. But it's at about 800 right now, maybe 750, 800. So like I said, I'm going to take it for a test drive. We'll see what happens, if there's any change, and go from there, I guess. Well, that sucks. There's a leak right here. I put windshield washer fluid in it. I started feeling something wet on my leg, and it's leaking out. It's probably going to stop once it hits that spot right there, but you can see the hole right there where it's leaking out at. So thankfully it's not a hole at the bottom, and it's not going to leak everything out, but that still sucks. Should have stopped filling before it got to that point. I just didn't know. Got to get a new windshield washer fluid container now. A lot of the things that I keep replacing are simple, easy, cheap fixes that should last for years. You know, if I replace the windshield washer container, probably won't have to buy another one for the rest of the life of the truck. You know, and it's probably only like $30 or $40. But still costs money. So support the channel, guys. Subscribe. Come on. I need to get to the earning money from the video status so I can afford to pay for things for this new truck. I'm gonna go take it for a drive, see if the stuff I replaced is making any kind of a difference at all or not.